Welcome to the channel.
Hey everyone, I never thought I'd be posting something like this, but here we are. I need to get this off my chest because my life just blew up in the worst way imaginable. If anyone's been through something like this, I could use some advice. Or maybe I just need someone to tell me I'm not crazy. So a little background, my name's Mark, 38M, and I've been married to Lucy, 35F, for 12 years. We have 2 kids, a nice house, and what I thought was a solid marriage. We even work at the same company, a marketing firm, where I lead the IT team, and she works as a customer ambassador. I won't lie, I thought we had it pretty good. I mean, yeah, work gets stressful and having kids isn't easy, but we always seem to find our way back to each other. Or so I thought. Things started to feel off about a month ago. Lucy was different. You know when someone's physically there but mentally they're checked out? That was her. She'd always been talkative, sharing work gossip, complaining about Karen from HR, or just filling me in on random things about her day. But suddenly she got quiet. Always on her phone, smiling at texts, turning the screen away when I walked by. I told myself I was overthinking it, maybe she was just stressed. Then came the island trip. Our company has this big-shot client, William Fellows. The guy is loaded. Old money, fancy suits, thinks he's above everyone else. I'd heard his name tossed around a lot, but I'd never met him in person. That changed when our company announced an exclusive retreat on his private island. Only top-performing employees were invited, Lucy included. At first, I wasn't even supposed to go. I don't usually deal with clients directly, but a week before the trip, my manager pulled me aside and said William specifically requested me. Said he was impressed with my work and wanted me there. I won't lie, my ego liked hearing that. Plus, a few days on a luxury island? Why not? But when I told Lucy, her reaction wasn't what I expected. She looked surprised. Almost panicked for a second. Then she smiled real quick and said, "Oh, that's great. I wasn't sure if they'd invite IT. Weird, right?" But again, I brushed it off. Maybe she just wasn't expecting it. The moment we stepped onto that island, though, my gut told me something was wrong. And I should have listened. Alright, so picking up where I left off, Lucy and I arrived at William Fellows' private island, and right from the start something felt off. This place was insane. I'm talking 5-star everything. Private beaches, infinity pools, personal chefs cooking gourmet meals like it was a regular Tuesday. The kind of place you only see in magazines or movies where rich people make shady deals. The first night there was a welcome party. Everyone was dressed to impress, but Lucy? She went all out. I mean, she always looks good, but this was different. She wore this tight, low-cut red dress, one I know she didn't pack when we left home. I asked her about it and she just shrugged. "Oh, I borrowed it from Ashley," one of her work friends. That was the first weird moment. Then came the second. William Fellows walked in and I swear it was like the whole atmosphere shifted. The guy has this presence, like he owns every room he steps into. He's probably in his late 40s, silver hair, ridiculously confident, like he's never been told no in his entire life. And the way he looked at Lucy? Like she already belonged to him. At first I told myself I was imagining it. But as the night went on, I couldn't shake the feeling that Lucy and William were way too comfortable with each other. They laughed at inside jokes, whispered in each other's ears, and at one point he placed his hand on the small of her back. Now, I'm not the jealous type. I don't go around policing my wife's interactions. But this felt wrong. So I walked over, wrapped an arm around Lucy's waist and kissed her cheek, just to make it clear. She tensed for half a second before forcing a smile. Then William smirked at me like I was some clueless idiot. That should have been my wake-up call. But the real gut punch came later that night. Most of the guests had gone back to their rooms, but I couldn't sleep. Something about the way Lucy had been acting kept nagging at me. So I decided to take a walk down to the beach. And that's when I saw them. Lucy and William. Standing by the water, deep in conversation. She was laughing, leaning into him, her hand on his arm. And then, he tucked her hair behind her ear. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I wanted to storm over, demand answers 'cause a scene, but I held back. Instead, I turned and walked away, my mind racing. I needed to be sure before I confronted her. But deep down I already knew. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was William's hand in Lucy's hair, the way she leaned into him, laughing like she didn't have a husband sleeping just a few rooms away. By morning, I had convinced myself I needed more proof before jumping to conclusions. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was overreacting. But the universe didn't let me sit with that lie for long. At breakfast, William was holding court at the main table, surrounded by a group of people hanging onto his every word. And who was sitting right next to him? Lucy. She wasn't even pretending to sit with me. It was like I didn't exist. I pulled out a chair across from them, trying to keep my face neutral. Lucy looked up, surprised, like she hadn't expected me to sit there. William just smirked. "Mark, my man," he said, leaning back in his chair like he owned the damn world. "Sleep well." Lucy shot me a quick glance like she was waiting to see how I'd react. "Like a baby," I lied even though my stomach was in knots. "Looks like you two had an interesting night." Lucy froze for half a second. Just a flicker of panic before she forced a smile. "Oh, we just talked for a bit. It was a beautiful night out." William chuckled, taking a slow sip of his coffee. "You married a fascinating woman, Mark. You must know that already." I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. There was something in the way he said it, like he was testing me. Before I could respond, one of the event coordinators announced the day's schedule: snorkeling, spa treatments, a yacht trip. Everyone started getting up, breaking off into small groups. Lucy stood, fixing her dress. "I'm going to the spa with Ashley," she said quickly, not even looking at me. "I'll see you later." She left before I could even answer. And guess who didn't leave? William. He leaned forward, folding his hands on the table, his smirk never fading. "You're a smart man, Mark," he said casually. "So I'll be direct with you." I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. "You love Lucy," he continued, tilting his head slightly. "But does she love you?" I went completely still. "She's a beautiful woman," he went on like he was discussing the weather. "Smart. Ambitious. I admire that. And I think she deserves more than this." He gestured vaguely toward me like I was less. I could feel my blood boiling, but I forced myself to stay calm. "And by more, you mean you?" William smiled, sipping his coffee like we were having a friendly chat. "I'm giving you an opportunity, Mark. A chance to step aside gracefully." I stared at him, trying to process the sheer audacity of what he was saying. He wasn't just flirting with my wife. He was offering to take her off my hands. Like I was some outdated piece of furniture he was offering to replace. "You've got a good job, a nice house," he continued. "But let's be real. Lucy wants more. And I can give her that." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "So what? You think I'll just hand her over?" William shrugged. "I think she's already making that choice. I'm just giving you a chance to walk away with some dignity." And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about money. Lucy was already involved. The way she had been acting. The late nights on her phone. The secret dress. The moment by the water. It had already started. I felt my hands shake under the table. But I wasn't about to give him the satisfaction of seeing me break. So I stood up. "You think money makes you better than me, William?" I asked, my voice even. His smirk didn't waver. "I think money makes life easier. And I think Lucy knows that too." I wanted to knock that smug look off his face. But instead I walked away. Because now I wasn't just dealing with a cheating wife. I was in a fight for my dignity. I walked away from William, but my whole body was vibrating with anger. This wasn't some drunk guy hitting on Lucy at a bar. This was calculated. Planned. The way he talked to me like I was some pathetic loser in the way of what he deserved. And the worst part. Lucy let it get this far. I needed to know the truth. I spent the next hour walking around the resort, thinking, replaying every weird moment from the last few months. How did I miss it? Had I been so busy with work, with the kids, that I didn't see my own wife slipping away? By lunchtime I had a plan. If Lucy was cheating, I was going to catch her. So I went straight to Ashley. Ashley and Lucy have been close for years, one of those work friendships that turned into a real one. If anyone knew what was going on, it was her. I found her by the pool, lounging with a drink. "Hey, Ashley. Got a second?" She looked up, surprised. "Mark. What's up?" I sat down next to her. "I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest." Her expression shifted like she knew what was coming. "Is Lucy having an affair with William?" Her reaction told me everything. Ashley's mouth opened, then shut. She looked down at her drink, then back at me. "Mark, it's not my place." My heart pounded. "So you do know something?" She exhaled, rubbing her forehead. "Look, I told Lucy this was a bad idea. I told her she was playing with fire." I felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Ashley hesitated. "She swore to me it wasn't physical," she rushed to say. "But she's been talking to him for a couple months. And ever since we got here, it's escalated." Escalated. I felt sick. "She told me it was harmless," Ashley went on, avoiding my eyes. "She said it was just flirting, that William was exciting. But Mark, I saw them last night. I think she's lying to herself." My hands curled into fists. I wasn't sure if I wanted to punch a wall or just collapse into myself. "Where is she now?" I asked. Ashley swallowed. "I think she's in her room." I stood up. "Thanks, Ashley." "Mark, wait." She grabbed my wrist. "Please don't do anything crazy." I didn't answer. I was already walking away. I got to our suite and swiped the key card. The door clicked open. And there she was. Lucy, sitting on the bed, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, startled. "Oh, hey. I was just about to." "Cut the crap, Lucy," I snapped, shutting the door behind me. Her smile dropped. "What's wrong?" I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "How long have you been talking to William?" Her face went pale. What? You heard me." I took a step closer. "How long?" She laughed nervously. "Mark, you're being ridiculous." I pulled out my phone. "Want me to call Ashley? See if she thinks I'm being ridiculous." Her eyes widened. "Ashley?" "Yeah. She told me everything, Lucy." My voice was sharp. "So don't you dare stand there and lie to my face." She opened her mouth, then shut it. For a moment she just sat there like she was trying to decide whether to deny or confess. Then, finally, she sighed and looked down. "A few months," she admitted quietly. I clenched my jaw. "And what exactly have you been doing with him?" "It wasn't like that at first," she said quickly. "We just talked. He made me feel important, Mark. Like I was more than just a wife and a mom and an employee." I stared at her. "More than a wife and a mom?" She groaned, rubbing her temples. "You don't get it. He listens. He sees me." I felt my hands shaking. "And what about me, Lucy? What about the man who's been standing beside you for 12 years? Who's been breaking his back to give you a good life?" She bit her lip, looking guilty. "Mark, I love you, I do, but..." I got caught up. "I didn't mean for it to." "Did you sleep with him?" I cut in, my voice cold. Her breath hitched. "No. Don't lie to me." "I'm not lying." She insisted. "We kissed. That's it. I swear." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. But the image of her with William, the way she acted around him, the way he smirked at me like he had already won, it all told me otherwise. "So what now?" I asked bitterly. "You were just gonna keep stringing me along until you made up your mind? Or were you already planning to leave?" She looked at me, her eyes full of guilt. And for the first time I saw it, she didn't know. She was considering it. That realization hit harder than a punch to the face. I let out a hollow laugh, shaking my head. Unbelievable. Mark, please. She stood up, reaching for me, but I stepped back. Don't. My voice was sharp. You don't get to play the victim here. She flinched, looking down. I turned toward the door. I couldn't look at her anymore. Where are you going? She asked, her voice small. I paused. Then I looked over my shoulder, meeting her eyes one last time. You already made your choice, Lucy, I said coldly. Now I'm making mine. And I walked out. I walked out of that room and didn't look back. My heart was pounding, my mind racing, but one thing was clear: Lucy wasn't the woman I thought she was. I didn't know where I was going, but I needed to get the hell away from her. My feet carried me down the hallway, out of the resort, straight toward the beach. The sun was blinding, but I barely felt it. I just kept hearing her words over and over in my head. He listens. He sees me. Like I didn't? Like the past 12 years meant nothing? Like she wasn't the one shutting me out while I was trying to keep our marriage together? I was fuming. I needed to do something, anything, to stop myself from exploding. So I did the only thing that made sense. I called Ashley. She picked up on the second ring. Mark. I didn't even wait. Where's William? She hesitated. Mark, don't. Where is he? A long sigh. Then, last I saw, he was at the marina. Probably getting ready for the yacht trip. Perfect. I found William exactly where she said, standing by the dock, sunglasses on, drink in hand, like he owned the damn world. A small group of employees were gathered around, laughing at something he said. I walked straight up to him. He turned as I approached, his smirk already forming. Ah, Mark. Join us, we were just... I didn't let him finish. I grabbed him by the collar and yanked him forward, so close I could smell the expensive cologne on his skin. The laughter around us died instantly. You think you can just take my wife? I hissed. He barely flinched. If anything, he looked amused. Mark, let's be rational here. I shoved him backward. He stumbled, nearly losing his balance. Some people gasped. Others whispered. But no one stepped in. William straightened his shirt, shaking his head like I was some unruly child throwing a tantrum. This is embarrassing for you, he said smoothly. That only made me angrier. You come into my life, I spat, flirt with my wife, manipulate her, and then have the nerve to act like I should just roll over and take it? William sighed like he was bored. Mark, I didn't steal Lucy. She came to me. Because she wanted more. That was it. Before I even knew what I was doing, my fist connected with his jaw. William staggered back, completely stunned. A few people gasped. Someone shouted my name. But I didn't care. I wanted to hit him again. I wanted to wipe that smug expression off his face permanently. But before I could, 2 security guards appeared out of nowhere, grabbing my arms. Sir, that's enough. One of them barked. William wiped his mouth, looking way too pleased for someone who just got punched. He turned to the security guards, holding up a hand. It's fine, he said. Mark's just emotional. I won't press charges. I yanked my arms free, breathing heavily. Screw you, I muttered. Then I turned and walked away, the weight of everything crashing down on me. Because now I knew, this wasn't just betrayal. This was war. I stormed away from the dock, my knuckles still throbbing from the punch. Every part of me was burning with rage, but underneath that, I felt humiliated. Not just because I lost control in front of everyone, but because William was right. Lucy had come to him. She had let this happen. And no matter how much I wanted to believe otherwise, I couldn't deny it anymore. She wasn't just some confused wife who made a mistake. She made a choice. And now, so would I. I headed straight back to our suite, half expecting Lucy to be waiting, full of apologies, tears, something. But when I opened the door, the room was empty. No sign of her. No text. No missed calls. Nothing. I laughed bitterly. Of course. The second things got messy, she ran. Classic. I grabbed my suitcase and started throwing my clothes inside. I wasn't about to stay here 1 second longer than I had to. Screw the retreat, screw William, and most of all, screw Lucy. Halfway through packing, my phone buzzed. Lucy. I stared at the screen for a second before answering. What? Her voice was shaky. Mark, can we talk? I scoffed. Now you want to talk? Please, she said. Meet me by the garden. I almost told her to forget it. But a part of me, maybe the part that still wanted answers, decided to hear her out. Fine, I muttered. 5 minutes. When I got to the garden, Lucy was pacing, wringing her hands. She looked up the second she saw me, eyes red like she'd been crying. Mark, she started, stepping closer. I held up a hand. Don't. She swallowed hard. I didn't want you to find out like this. I laughed, shaking my head. Oh, so there was a better way for me to find out you've been sneaking around with William? It wasn't like that. She insisted. I didn't sleep with him. I crossed my arms. You sure? Because William seems pretty confident I won't be in the picture much longer. She flinched. I never planned to leave you. Then why'd you let it go this far? I demanded. Why did you let him touch you? Whisper in your ear. Why did you lie to me for months, Lucy? Tears welled in her eyes. I don't know. T. She sniffled, looking away. I was lost, Mark. I felt stuck. Our life, it became routine. Work, kids, bills. I didn't feel wanted anymore. I clenched my jaw. Wanted. I took a step closer, my voice low. You mean like how I planned date nights? How I surprised you with gifts? How I helped with the kids, worked my ass off so you wouldn't have to stress? She shook her head. It wasn't about that. Then what was it about? I pressed. She hesitated. Then, barely above a whisper, she said, William made me feel special. I let out a hollow laugh. Right. And I guess I was just some background character in your life, huh? She looked at me desperately. It wasn't like that. I love you, Mark, I do. No, you don't, I cut in. Because if you did, you wouldn't have let another man put his hands on you. You wouldn't have kept this a secret until you got caught. She started crying, but I didn't care. Not anymore. Because this wasn't just about William. This was about who she became. A liar. A cheater. A coward. And I was done. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. I'm leaving, Lucy. Her eyes widened. Wait, what? You made your choice, I said simply. Now I'm making mine. Mark, please, she begged. Let's fix this. We can go to therapy, we can. I shook my head. There's nothing left to fix. Her face crumpled. I don't want to lose you. You should have thought about that before you let William make you feel special, I said coldly. And with that I turned and walked away for good. I didn't wait for Lucy to call after me. I just walked straight back to our room, grabbed my suitcase and headed for the docks. As I was waiting for the boat back to the mainland, my phone buzzed again. Lucy, please don't do this. Let's talk. I blocked her number. Then, as if the universe wanted to test me, I spotted William in the distance, watching me leave. And the bastard was smirking. I met his gaze, held it for a long second. Then, without breaking eye contact, I stepped onto the boat. Let him have his little victory. He won Lucy. But he lost the chance to ever be me. And something told me, one day she'd regret that. The boat ride back felt surreal. Just hours ago I had a wife, a marriage I thought was worth something. Now, I had nothing but betrayal. By the time I got to the airport, my phone was flooded with messages. Lucy. Her sister. Even Ashley. I ignored them all. Then, just as I was about to board, a final text came in, from an unknown number. William, no hard feelings, Mark. Business is business. I stared at the screen, my grip tightening around the phone. This wasn't just some affair to him. It was a power move. And I wasn't about to let him win. I landed back home late at night. The house felt different, cold, empty. Lucy wasn't here. I didn't know if she was still on the island or staying with a friend, but honestly, I didn't care. I dropped my bags, sat on the couch, and just stared at the wall. Then my phone buzzed again. Lucy, I'm coming home tomorrow. Please, let's talk. I turned off my phone. She made her choice. Now she had to live with it. The next evening, I heard the front door unlock. Lucy was home. She stepped inside, looking exhausted, eyes red like she'd been crying the whole trip back. She set her bag down carefully, like she was afraid to make a sound. "Mark," she started softly. I didn't say anything. Just stood there, arms crossed. Waiting. She swallowed hard. "Can we talk?" I nodded toward the couch. "Go ahead." She hesitated, like she was choosing her words carefully. "I messed up. I know I did. But I need you to understand, I never stopped loving you." I scoffed. Funny way of showing it. Tears welled in her eyes. I was stupid. "William, he made me feel special, but it wasn't real. You are. We are." I just stared at her. "And now that he's not chasing you anymore, you suddenly remember that?" She flinched. "It was never about him. Don't lie to me again, Lucy." My voice was sharp. "You had months to stop this before it ever got this far. You didn't. And now you want to fix things." She wiped her face, shaking her head. "I don't want to lose our family, Mark." I took a deep breath, letting the silence stretch between us. Then I said the words I had already decided the second I saw her on that beach with him. "You already did." Lucy froze. Like she didn't think I'd actually say it. "Mark, please." Her voice cracked. "Don't do this. We can fix it." I shook my head. "No, you broke it. And I'm not picking up the pieces for you." She stepped closer, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. Tears ran down her face. "I don't want a divorce." I exhaled slowly. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before sneaking around with William." She started sobbing, full on breaking down. And for the first time, I felt nothing. Because I wasn't the one who destroyed our marriage. She was. Lucy collapsed onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. "I don't know why I did this," she sobbed. "I hate myself for it." I just watched her. No anger, no sadness. Just emptiness. "You did it because you wanted to," I said finally. She shook her head. "No. Yes." I cut her off. "No one forced you, Lucy. You chose this. And now you don't like the consequences." She looked up at me, desperate. "I love you, Mark. I never stopped." I gave a bitter laugh. "Love? Love doesn't look like what you did." She wiped her face, trying to hold herself together. "I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, anything." "It's too late," I said simply. Her lip trembled. "So that's it? You're just done?" I nodded. "I am." For the first time I saw it click in her eyes. She had truly lost me. Lucy sat there, staring at me like she was trying to find the right words, some magic phrase that would undo everything. But there wasn't one. "You're really leaving me," she whispered. "I am," I said. She wiped at her face, her breathing shaky. "What about the kids?" "They stay with me," I said firmly. "I'm not letting them get caught up in your mess." She looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. Maybe because she knew she had no ground to stand on. After a long silence, she finally asked, "Is there any way you'll forgive me?" I met her eyes. "I'll move on. But forgive you?" I shook my head. "No, Lucy. Some things can't be undone." Her face crumpled. And for the first time I walked away and she was the one left behind. I left Lucy sitting there, too broken to say another word. I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. I packed my things that night. Called a lawyer the next morning. There was no saving this. Lucy tried, of course. Texts. calls. Even showed up at my office once, begging me to reconsider. I ignored it all. She had months to fight for our marriage. She fought for William instead. The only time I answered was when it came to the kids. And even then I kept it short. She cried every time we spoke. But I didn't. Because I had already grieved our marriage. Now, I was done. The divorce went through faster than I expected. Lucy didn't fight for much, maybe out of guilt, maybe because she knew she wouldn't win. In the end, I got the house. Full custody of the kids. She got what she deserved, nothing. William. He didn't stick around. Once I was out of the picture, the thrill was gone. Within weeks, he moved on to some younger woman, leaving Lucy with nothing but regret. She reached out a few times after that. Apologies, more tears, telling me how much she missed me, how she had ruined everything. I never answered. Because I had finally learned the truth. Some betrayals can never be forgiven. And some people? They don't deserve second chances.
Goodbye.